Hello, I'm the One Nerd, and I wanted to do a video today where I would be able to pursue some lines of thinking around AI and development of what effect that's going to have on our society in the next few years. I've done a few previous videos like this, but I thought I'd do something that was more up to date with the current state of the world, trends in jobs, employment, economy, all that kind of thing, and recent trends we've just seen going on in AI. So this is going to focus mostly on from a skeptical perspective of the motives and interests of those who are such as the big tech corporations and the small vested interests that have an interest in this technology being successful overall. I'm not coming from a background of ignorance on this. I have some degree of knowledge about computer science, machine learning, AI, all that kind of thing. I have a degree in applied computing from many years ago, 20 years in the industry as a web developer, mostly full stack web development. A little bit of knowledge on networking, all that kind of thing. I'm currently a lecturer at college in both IT, game art and design, so I'm not coming at this from a completely ignorant angle, if you could say. So I think the general trends that we can obviously draw some conclusions from. There has been a job displacement at the lower end in terms of developers, which is definitely, I think, a negative trend in respect to how can you have people in our world, as our society, that know about development, programming, systems design, if they haven't got a chance to go into an actual environment where they get to make a thing, right? That's one disadvantage. One advantage, you could say, is that those who are already established as like senior developer level will have much more marketable skills and will have to do less. So there is that, which is seen as the main definitive advantage of a lot of this technology, is efficiency gains. But I mean, we don't exist in an economy that's ever had the level of potential automation that AI could offer us, right? Now that's still a bit of a unsure question, I'd say, as we're into like mid 2026, is what actual value is this our language models providing to us as a society? And it's a very mixed picture. I mean, obviously, in general, you've got the image diffusion systems, which can have improved a lot over the last 5 years, to the point where now we are at the point where video can be more or less indistinguishable from real life. Which, I mean, I've been talking about this stuff for years. Nobody pays attention. You kind of get bored of talking about it, but you got to go on and on about the potential risks of start technology for misinformation and for faking, scam, which we're already seeing. I mean, there's been that case with the a bot type scam. Well, it's just quite a funny case, actually. Scammers were ringing up an old lady and they used an AI to trick the scammer. So, like with any tool or technology, there are basically good and bad things you can use it for. I mean, it's, again, all the technology is an extension of human will and desire, right? If you want to get really philosophical, we design technology to achieve an aim or be able to do a thing, but it grants us the power in a Promethean sense that then allows us to create or destroy the same thing. Think of Prometheus. I mean, he gave the power of fire to man, and then man was able to both, well, I mean, thinking of fire, to be fair, because it's the kind of original technology of mankind. With that, we've been able to create flamethrowers, which obviously are not good. That leads to a lot of skin grafts and dead people. Not good. Not a great use of technology, gotta be honest. but then also fire meant that we could create energy systems or distributed energy systems in some respect, or energy in the broader sense, so that we could have warmer environments to grow up in, more comfortable environments. Now obviously, you know, that's what engineering does. It increases our comfort in life and it just makes life easier and automates aspects of it. You could approach this thinking from one of the main risks that doesn't get really talked about that much though with AI, and again, I'm not exactly sure where I stand with this myself, but is that you could end up with a kind of last man of that Nietzsche spoke about world, where nobody knows how to do you lose the actual experience and knowledge because you never had the experiences in the first place. So an example of we're going to have less software developers potentially, even though at the minute we've got a lot of overtrained software engineers who will not be able to find work at the entry level, which would normally be a way to get into making stuff, right? We will not have that because they won't be able to even get the experience in the first place, and we'll just be handing over an entire large knowledge base, which you develop through experience and experimentation, over to machines and just trusting that they are doing it. I mean, the thing is, as always, though, as well, that people, I mean, even software engineers and developers aren't always that concerned with how it works, if it works. Most of the time, good software engineers will obviously try and optimize for the best solution to a problem. Otherwise, you are creating technical debt and problems for yourself in the future anyway. But your average person won't care, an entrepreneur. So there is no, again, escaping that reality. Like, if the technology is there, you have to deal with it. It's not a case of, oh, well, you know, we can't legislate our way out of AI. It has had a huge detrimental effect, though, I'd say, on the actual genuinely democratizing pluses of personal computing. So, you know, RAM's more expensive now, for example, which is you know, that is much more expensive because RAM is being bought up by these companies that are creating data centers, right? So that, in terms of personal computing, and one of the main things I actually worry about, the trend in terms of how big technology firms are advancing with AI, is basically the fact that they are scraping and harvesting our data for free without paying us back anything, taking all our intellectual property without permission, and just training their AIs on it. So I know that you may be aware of this, you may not, but OneDrive, if you have a OneDrive on your cursed Windows OS 11 machine, as I am unfortunate enough to have to do because I have to play games and I need Windows 11 for work, so I have to run that horrendous Microsoft bloatware, malware piece of shit operating system on a computer. But one of the real annoying things that I never signed up for, but I just found out the other day is an actual thing, is that OneDrive just basically clones your entire local file structure, which I think is technically against the law, or should be at least, and we'll use it to train their artificial intelligence. So without your permission, there's no consent there coming from a user, right? But Microsoft decided that they'll do that, but you've got no choice as a consumer, because you're kind of, I mean, you can go onto Linux, but again, there isn't the necessary software there, apart from maybe Wine, to actually run computer games, so again, you're trapped. So this is where I think in general, as a kind of way of countering this, I think people are generally serious about computing and computer science and democratic kind of systems within computing, do need to start switching to more open operating systems like Linux. So it's happening in France already, because they're getting tired of Windows 11 and their bullshit. I'm getting pretty tired of it as well. I mean, I'm kind of tied into and locked into using it at work. I wish I didn't have to use it. It's fucking horrendous. Terrible operating system. I actually captured some of my memory usage the other day, and OneNote was using a massive 40% of my memory consumption on my computer, which has got an i7 and a third generation GPU. And you just think, what? I mean, again, this is all the inshitification that continues, where Cory Doctorow has written about this, but now with agentic AI potentially being trained to then just replace you in your job function and leave you with what? Nothing? Because if the profit that gets generated by replacing you doesn't then go back to you to then feed back into the economy, then what? We're just going to have a bunch of unemployed people with no money, getting stolen from all the time, literally just getting everything sucked from them, the personal computer information, everything basically that you own, just being sucked as this huge central network of AI data centers. Just sounds like a recipe for Cyberpunk 2015, literally the worst aspects of Cyberpunk. And yeah, probably the message didn't get down to a level that people could understand it with Cyberpunk. The whole point of Cyberpunk is not to make it happen. But, people are stupid, so they don't even listen. They don't care. Like I said, I've been doing these vlogs for now about 8 years about the dangers of AI and the potential abuses of it. It's here. We have to deal with it, and we do have to deal with it in some form. There's no denying it exists. Once the genie's out of the bag, you've got to deal with it. But your average person just doesn't care, or they're so ignorant to it that they ignore it and think it's going to all be fine. And again, you don't want to also be at the same time an alarmist and be just like, oh, everything's going to be dystopian hellhole and we're just going to be ruled over by a bunch of robot twats. But also, yeah, you've got to put things in perspective and say there is actual risk of these things, and it is time to seriously think about how you approach and take back the power that has been stolen from you. There are ways you can do this. You can set up media servers, your own media service. If you want to stream and share that with a bunch of friends, there are tools available, so you can set up your own media service quite easily. Setting up a server isn't that hard. Again, the real advantage that we do have as technologists and hackers and all that kind of thing is that we do have access to the tools to take away the power of the corporations that are essentially sapping away all our data, information, and what little power we've been able to have in this technological world. And I do feel for a lot of developers who are coming up now. I was alright. It took me a while to get established as a developer, but I worked my way up slowly but surely over a few years from entry and junior level positions. And now what have they got? And maybe sysadmin work in data centers, but not much more than that. Not really much more in terms of development. There is also the thing that maybe the monolithic AI code that we generated will need a lot of maintenance. So that trend could happen. I could see that happening, but it remains to be seen whether that's going to be the case. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to make this too long. That was just a bit of my more recent ruminations on AI and how it's developing in this year.